how do you use it as a tool? How do you use it as something that enhances what you're doing, but doesn't replace what you're doing? When you do this, again, thinking of ChatGPT as a conversation partner, the engagement that you do back and forth, it's going to give you a different frame through which to see this topic or this person or this scenario, whatever it may be.
Welcome to Build Your Culture Brand with Dr. Jay Rains. Successful leaders make building healthy culture a priority. Meet other leaders who are building a culture where people want to stay and know how to win together.
Hey leaders, welcome back to the Build Your Culture Brand podcast. I have with me today one of our executive coaches from our team. Christy has been on the show before, but welcome to the show, Christy Tennant Krispin.
Thanks, Jay. It's so good to be in conversation with you again.
Yes, there were several people that reacted to our previous conversations and seemed to go really well. And this topic today that you've brought up, I think I'd love to explore it some more with you. What we want to do is think about how to use AI to enhance leadership. So why should we even dive into this topic?
Yeah. Well, I think the reason we need to dive in is because in the last couple of years, AI has become just so much front and center all over the place. And I think that the leaders who begin to really explore and understand how to use it are going to find that it is going to enhance their leadership in so many ways. And, the phrase that I use a lot when it comes to employing ChatGPT or any other of these kind of AI tools is work smarter, not harder. The goal is to free ourselves from some of the tasks that we could offload to ChatGPT or other AI tools. I'm going to talk mostly about ChatGPT today, but of course there are many AI tools. But finding ways to use that tool to allow us to focus more on our actual mission and on our actual work. So I mean, we can get into that a little bit, but I think it's going to free people up. It's going to make it possible for us to really work smarter, not harder.
Okay. Well, we have several different directions we're going to go with this topic, but thanks for introducing that idea. I'm so glad to have you on our team. You work so well with our leaders, and thank you for being such a valuable part of our team. You're on our team. We have 10 of us together as executive coaches that are working with teams, executives across the nation and even around the world. So I think one of these that we're kind of thinking about, we won't cover this today, but even how do we as executive coaches maximize some of these AI tools? Just kind of a simple way that we've done it, even with our own team, is just to hit we use Zoom on our team. We have team meetings twice a month, as you know, and I've just enjoyed hitting that summarize button in Zoom. Just a powerful tool. I mean, it isn't always like 100% correct, but it is a great quick read of here are the main points. I love the summaries, and it even pulls the task actions to the top and says, Christy said she would do this, or Jay said he would do that. And so I found that to be super helpful. And it's just such a simple one button tool that's already built in. So I think what we're seeing, we'll talk about today, is AI is kind of already embedded around us, but maybe we need to think about how do we maximize the use of it? Where could we leverage it for our benefit? So those are some of the initial topics I thought of. In fact, just to get ready for the show, I've been a bit ChatGPT averse. I just have to admit, I've thought, oh my goodness, I don't want a machine, involved in my brain, right? And yet, I've had some fun. I have played with prompts before, especially on ChatGPT. And in fact, I was speaking, just an anecdote, I was speaking for a group, and I was struggling with the title of the speech, just how to title it. So I put in the points of my message, just some big points, and it gave me 10 ideas. I think I actually used one of them for the title. So even those simple ways, I find it as a brainstorming tool, what little I've used it. And so we can talk about different ways that might be able to use it today. So what brought this forward for you most recently? You had an incident or an event that kind of brought this to the forefront of your talks with leaders.
Yes, yes. Well, I think, I've been really exploring it for about the last year or so. And it started with me being very suspicious. I was kind of one of those um, uh, very hesitant to engage for a number of reasons. But I think for me, there was like the questions of integrity. Like if I get things from ChatGPT, do I need to disclose? I used ChatGPT to help me with this. Now, certainly, if I were writing a book and I were to use ChatGPT to write my book for me, and then that would be a lack of integrity around chat using it. I mean, that would be no. And I will also say I have a self-published book on Amazon. I used the Amazon platform to self-publish my Year by Design workbook. And it asks you now, did you use ChatGPT in any portion of creating this book or writing this book? You have to disclose, and you don't disclose how much. And so like for my Year by Design book, I used it to help organize some of my chapters. And I used it to help, particularly in the chapter on finances, I used it to help me with some of the budgeting lists and things. And so I had to disclose, yes, I used ChatGPT, but I wanted to put an asterisk that said, but it's my content. Like I came up with this. It didn't write it for me.
It just rearranged it.
Yeah. And even, I think this is one of the big questions that we're going to have to really face going forward, is, are you using it with integrity? And how are you using it? And I'm in this is a little bit of a rabbit trail, but I'm in a professional group that meets every Monday morning. We check in with each other. It's 3 coaches, 3 executive coaches. And we just have a standing call. We check in. And this past week, one of my colleagues talked about how she's been really thinking about how she uses ChatGPT and wanting to make sure she's using it in a healthy way. And it was the same for me. I was thinking about the same thing, because you don't want it to do all your thinking for you. You don't want to stop your own creative process. So the question is, how do you use it as a tool? How do you use it as something that enhances what you're doing, but doesn't replace what you're doing? And I heard a really good conversation about using this effectively to work smarter, not harder, to have it as a conversation partner to help you find a starting point to then put your mark or your voice or whatever it may be. And for me, that was a turning point. I started experimenting with it, and I use it a lot now. I use it to help me do life smarter, not harder. And I can give you some examples from my personal life, but also from, my work and like how I employ it to help me be a better coach, to help me show up to my clients, my leaders, and those I serve, more prepared and just with a better starting place for our conversations.
That's wonderful. Yes. Yeah. And so I'm thinking about the leaders that are listening today. And I know you had a situation recently with a group of leaders. I think you were in El Salvador, and it just became very practical for those leaders. What was that incident, and what did that lead to?
Yeah. Well, I was sitting around with I'm on a board of an organization in El Salvador, and we were getting ready for a board meeting, and there were some things that we were going to need to discuss, and some topics that were going to come up. And I wanted to think better. I wanted to show up to the meeting more prepared and just able to contribute more. And so I used ChatGPT, and I fed in some of the details, nothing that identified anyone, or, you have to be careful because everything you put in ChatGPT is stored forever. You can't delete it. So anything you put there you need to know it. And so you have to be broad and protect confidentiality. But I typed in some of the topics that we needed to cover, some of the personalities who would be in the room, and I asked ChatGPT to suggest to me some open questions that I could bring to help move the conversation forward. And it gave me some suggestions. And so I was in the airport. We all flew from different places, but we all connected in Atlanta. So we were on the same flight from Atlanta, several of us. And so we were sitting around having lunch, and it came up around the table, and I just read them my prompt, and I read them the questions that came up. And it was kind of a turning point, I think, for a few of them, just to go, oh, I had never thought of it that way. And to really begin using it as a conversation partner to help you think differently. And another thing that I love about it is it helps expose blind spots. So sometimes, in fact, I did this morning. I put in a demographic of a coaching client, and I said, their goal is this. What are some questions that I can help them move the ball down the field? And then it gave me a few. And then I said, what are some questions that will help expose blind spots? And it gave me some different questions. So again, and I think what I really want to make the point of, it's a starting point. This is not like I take what's there and then I don't think about it again and I just go into my sessions. It's a starting point to help me think more deeply, and go, oh, that's interesting. Like, that raised something interesting that I hadn't thought of. And now how am I going to then tailor that to then go to my, leader and be able to ask them better questions.
And maybe that's a great principle to consider is, thinking of it as a starting point. In other words, don't let this be the final answer. Like, use this as a brainstorming opportunity, and then you get to level up beyond that. So we still have our brains. We still have our intelligence. We still understand the context much better than we can tap into a prompt. And so just to have, like, if there were 5 questions that came out of that, maybe only 1 or 2 of them led you to a better question, but how can you even enhance that beyond? So thinking that way, I actually did a scenario thing this morning as we were preparing for this. And I thought, okay, what if, and I put in my DISC personality, and then I made up a false, DISC personality. And I said, okay, I'm about to go into a one-on-one meeting or a team meeting with this person. How should I approach? And I gave a scenario of, it's this complicated situation. And I said, what would be a one-on-one approach and what would be a team meeting approach to my idea, to introducing my idea? And so I thought it was really helpful how, with at least the DISC assessment, it knew to tell me, okay, make sure you include these points, make it very actionable, because I made the other person a D, which I'm not. And so I just thought, it's like, that's exactly how I think I would have coached someone. As, if we were on a call together, we would have talked this through. I mean, not exactly how, but these are some of the key points I would have made sure to mention as well. And I just thought it was, handy to have that, as how do I prepare for delivering a message to a room of people or a person that's not my personality type.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up. So this is another way it can serve in the area of emotional intelligence. So we do a lot of coaching that taps into emotional intelligence. In fact, if people listening don't know this, we actually have a whole coaching kind of approach and program that we offer at LeadersQ that is all focused on helping teams or individuals develop their emotional intelligence. And we've had great results from that. So I want to put a plug in for that. But imagine you are a high D. Okay, I'm a high D. Imagine I have to terminate someone.
Right.
Imagine I'm terminating an S. And
wow,
yeah. And so I can type in, I'm a high D. I need to terminate this person. They're an S. Here are the reasons that I need to terminate them. Just typing in a few details and then saying, please give me a script that sounds more like an S. Because for me, as in my own emotional intelligence development, my goal, and this is something that Danette said to me, she said a really evolved person, I don't know if she used that word, but it was essentially like, you want to get to the point where no one can guess what your DISC profile is, because you're so aware of how you come across, and you're so able to, so when I show up in a room, I can come on, if I'm totally natural, unguarded, whatever, I've got both barrels blazing and I'm ready to come in firing. Shoot first,
Yeah.
ask questions later, and do some damage in the process. And I've had to learn over the years how to hear myself and maybe learn how to soften some of those edges, still recognizing that my D-ness is the biggest gift that I bring to a team. And, it's a good thing to have somebody that's that temperament. However, it can also be, damaging. All of us can. So, anyway, so I think using ChatGPT to help you script something and then go, oh yeah. So, or maybe here's another one. Here's what I would like to say. Now, please make this, soften these edges. Help me say this in a way that's a little less edgy and a little more compassionate. And it can feed back. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just thinking, just to back up with a little bit of context here too, some people may not know what a DISC profile is. And so just to kind of frame that, like there are plenty of personality profiles out there. Our team primarily like begins with DISC. DISC is kind of 4 different personality types. And then there are blends of each of those. So you have anyway, we have episodes on that, but just so you know, what we're talking about here is kind of understanding how people respond to the environment around them. And what Christy's describing here is that her D dominant style would be just get right to the point and got guns blazing, like you said. And so finding ways to not change, we're not asking anybody to change their personality, but to show up for someone how they might need us to show up, or to not. Maybe a D might have an easy tendency to run over an S unintentionally. And so just to, again, have a third voice in this to say, here's a way to approach this in a way that an S would receive it so much better. And so just some context around that. You could, I'm sure, could run Enneagram through it, or you could, do MBTI or any of the other assessments out there.
Yep.
I'm sure ChatGPT would understand the ones you understand.
Yep. And sometimes I've even done this on myself. Like I've typed in, here's my profile, and I put all of my things in there, and, ask me some questions that can help me identify some blind spots or something like that. Because I think that's one of the things I'm kind of hung up on right now, is how our blind spots hinder us. And so the more that we can really become more deeply aware. And I think that's what those personality, one of the things those temperament assessments can do is they help us to see both where our strengths are, but also where our weaknesses are.
I tell you what, Christy, just to make this super practical, how about we just try a little rapid fire idea? Let's see if we can list off several initial ways you could use ChatGPT in a leadership setting. So I'll throw out one. I think you could use it for, say, setting a team meeting agenda. If you had a list of things you need and want to talk about, you kind of throw it in ChatGPT and it could give you an idea of a team meeting agenda. What would be one? Another one. We'll just go back and forth.
Yep. All right. Crafting an email. So I need to send an email about this. Please draft something. And then they draft it. And then you take it and add your voice, you tweak it, you clarify it before. So it gives you a first draft.
Love it. I'll add to that. You can actually take that and say, what's the tone of this email? And you can change the tone of your email.
Yep.
I'll add another one. So you could do, you're about to have a meeting together and you might need an opening question, like more of a scenario, what would you do in this situation, or more of a fun opening topic.
Okay. How about I want to do a better job of appreciating my team? What are some suggestions? What are 10 suggestions for how I could show appreciation for my team?
Oh, I love that. That's so good. I may have to try that one. I was thinking of another one too. What if, it's kind of end of the year. This is that time of year when people are business planning. And so you could actually, now, again, you want to probably clean out any details, but upload part of your business plan and then just say, what is a SWOT analysis of my business plan for January 2025 or the year 2025? And it could put out, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats for you in your business plan, especially in your market area.
Mm-hmm. Great. And then I'll take that one step further. It'll bring up a SWOT analysis, and then you can say, I would like to explore the strengths more. Please, let's go deeper into that. Or I would like to explore the threats more. Let's go deeper into that.
Yeah, that it was a pretty good list there. I'm sure there's a lot
Yeah.
more we could do, but
Yeah.
just to give people an idea about how they can use ChatGPT or some AI. By the way, another AI that I use, I didn't really think of it as an AI, but just I use Grammarly in my email writing. I'm writing a book. It helps me with grammar. I find out, I'm missing all kinds of commas and things. And so it just helps with spelling and hyphenation, all that. So it's kind of a running use of AI that I'm still creating, but it's keeping me within grammar parameters. So
Yep. I'll give you another. So this is a little bit off of our leadership specifically, but life's just life. I'm in grad school, and whenever I'm turning in a paper, it gives us the option of running our paper through a plagiarism checker, just to make sure that there's nothing that's going to flag, if we didn't credit something properly or whatever. So it helps us to make sure that, we've done everything correctly. And then I've used it for just day-to-day lifestyle things. And I'll give you a couple examples of that, because this is one thing I know. If you're in leadership, or if you're an entrepreneur, or you're running a business or anything like that, the people we serve are high performance leaders who oftentimes, have high stakes jobs, but also have a life outside of work. So how can ChatGPT help us to live smarter, not harder? I don't know if that's the right phrase, but and so I have fed into ChatGPT. I would like a 30-day menu for my family. I would like every Tuesday to be the same taco night, every Friday to be the same pizza night, and the rest of them to be crock pot and sheet pan meals. Also, I would like them to have no more than 8 ingredients and not used processed foods, but whole foods. And I got a 30-day meal plan. And then I said, could you please create a shopping list for me? So it created the shopping list. And so I just saved myself a ton of time. And then I can go into my Kroger app, add all of those things into the Kroger app, which uses AI to track my grocery shopping and then make good suggestions to me based on, so I mean, it's everywhere. My Kroger app uses AI to help me remember to buy certain things that I buy repeatedly that I might have forgotten to put on my list. So anyway, those are just some lifestyle things.
I love it. So let's use that example. Let's use the menu creation example there, because I think that actually teaches us something for leadership. What I hear you saying is it's really all in the prompt. So the prompt becomes the key to, including the right parameters, the right information, and setting up the scenario so that, like you said, I wanted less than 8 ingredients. There's a reason why you asked for less than 8 ingredients, the complexity of the meal. And so I just think the key here, maybe the one big takeaway for me today, is get better at writing prompts. If I'm going to use this tool, then the biggest way to leverage it is to learn how to make better prompts.
Yep. 100%. And that's what I think the skill becomes, is how to use better prompts and then how to take it to the next level and the next level until you have something that, again, it is causing you to think differently. So then you ask back another question, and then that causes you to, think differently. And then you get to something where you're like, this is what I can use. I've used it to, come up with a tailor-made, and I'm not trying to take anybody's job, right? Like, so there are people out there who are selling meal plans. I'm not trying to take away their job from them, or, people creating unique workouts, but I've used it also to create a workout for myself. I type in, I'm a 49-year-old woman, this, that, the other. I want to, I'm trying to plan to be as healthy and strong as I can well into old age. I'm thinking about that. What do I need to be doing, today? And it'll come up, or give me a 7-day workout schedule or whatever. And it comes up with a little checklist. And for somebody like me, my little Enneagram 1, I love a good checklist. I love something that, tells me what to do. And I love, I almost can't have a conversation without mentioning Greg McKeown's work in Essentialism, but he talks about tools that do the thinking for you. And this is another thing, it can come up with systems. We talk a lot in coaching about the importance of systems. And when we're coaching our teams, we coach them in how to talk about their systems, and how to really create them. And so it can help you create systems that then allow you to not even have to think about it. It's just right there, and you're gonna do it,
Well, Christy, I'm going to take this to a whole nother place. Okay,
Okay,
let's
do it.
All right. So you've done all this work with ChatGPT. Let's say we're learning or getting better at prompts. Let's take that idea. So I'm getting better at writing prompts for ChatGPT, but I'm still not dealing with a person. So how might that actually, as a leader, learning to do prompts better, how might that help me with the people that I actually work with? How might that help me in real life?
This will make you a better listener. This will make you a better listener because when you do this, again, thinking of ChatGPT as a conversation partner, the engagement that you do back and forth, it's going to give you a different frame through which to see this topic or this person or this scenario, whatever it may be. So then you go into this scenario and you are able to listen for things that you might have missed otherwise. And that's been my experience, is when I've used it to ask, come up with some good open questions, or come up with this, or come up with that. And it gives me some things, and then I'll press back on it and say, okay, that's a good one. Can you make it more tailored for a S? And then you're able to go into these conversations listening more. You're more attuned to the person you're engaging with. And that's really the focus of coaching, is to really be attuned to the person you're with. You are fully present to them, but you're not relying only on what you have inside of you, although we have to trust our instincts. And that's a huge part of coaching as well, is, we cultivate these skills. We do all this training so that we understand the ethics and we understand what coaching is and what it isn't. And we're not offering our advice and that sort of thing. But then we get to the call and we've done this background work and we're able to listen better and be more attuned so that we can hear our clients better.
That's so good. It makes me think that I haven't been asking the right questions of people that I work with. I think of all the leaders that show up to work and they'll go through and they'll talk to people and they'll ask the question, how can I help you? But there are so many other questions we can ask beyond that. And so I think that just that whole prompt idea is really smart for me to practice with ChatGPT, but then actually live it out with the people around. And just to put a shameless plug in, we do put out a question every Monday morning called Lead with a Question. Follow us on our socials and you can use those questions. They are not AI generated, and you can use those questions or throw them into ChatGPT and ask them to make it better if you want to, and use those questions with your team to get beyond that question of how can I help you?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Christy, this has been great. If there's one other, anything else you want to add to the show?
No, I think this is I think it's worth just mentioning. It is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And so we can either, my old mindset was, I didn't like it. I was afraid of it. I remember a big, I shared one of the conversations I heard that changed it for me. But another one was, there was an article, I think it was on NPR a while back, and it was a college professor. This was shortly after ChatGPT really came out. And it was a college professor talking about one of the fears people were saying, oh, all kids are going to use this to write their papers. It's going to use it to, do their work for them. And so we need to figure out a way to keep ChatGPT out of our schools. And he came out and he said, I'm telling my students, we're going to use it, and let's talk about how we're going to use it well. And he was coaching his class, his students, on how to use ChatGPT well. And he made the point, it's not going anywhere, and we can resist it, but then it's kind of, we're removing ourselves from that conversation. or we can put ourselves in the conversation and help our students learn how to use it well, help show them the pitfalls, help expose to them the importance of continuing to think and not let it do all the thinking for you, not, use it to write your paper. Maybe use it to organize your thoughts. Maybe use it to create your bibliography. I mentioned that I'm in grad school. We have to sign something that says we will not use ChatGPT for our papers. But what I have done is I've run my bibliography through ChatGPT and I've said, please make sure this aligns with whatever format that they're requiring for that paper, because every class is different. And so, I'm not using it to write the paper. I'm not using it to do any of my research, but I'm just using it to do a little bit of administrative tasks that we would use. You could use, any, like you said, Grammarly or something like that for.
That's so good. Christy, thanks for being on the show. These are great ideas, and it's just scratching the surface.
It is.
But we wanted to at least say, consider it, try it out, practice with it, and work on, I think the big takeaway for me, again, is work on writing great prompts so that they are useful and putting the parameters in there that you need. So thank you for your time, and love what you're doing with our leaders. Let's keep working with those that we're working with, and
love it.
Look forward to helping everybody grow as leaders in the world that we're living in right now.
Yeah, sounds good. We have the best ever. So it's a privilege.
It is a joy. Thank you. You have a good day.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Build Your Culture Brand with Dr. Jay Rains. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, comment, and share. See you next time.